Hey y'all, so as you can see from the title of the video, this is about my spiritual journey and how I left behind religion. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So yeah, let's get started. Y'all like my wall? Okay. So becoming spiritual was a big turning point for me because I come from a Methodist background. So when I stopped attending a church where we practice Christianity, I got a lot of people who told me that I would lose my blessings, but that never really bothered me because I knew better. I knew that my blessings would never leave. They're still here because I manifest them, and there's a divine power within me as well as it is all of you. So I never really let that bother me by them saying that to me. So the only person that really supported me when it came to my decision to stop going was my mom. She's always been a very understanding person, and she knew that I meant well, so it wasn't a problem for her as it was for everybody else. And I'm an old soul, so I believe I've always been a spiritual person anyway. And I stopped attending church when I became conscious. I started to realize, once I started learning about our true history, I started to realize how a lot of things that we do today were forced on our ancestors. They were stripped from everything that they did way before, And I began to realize that everything was forced on them, from religion all the way to the names that we use today. And it really made me think, what else is it that that we might not be questioning or refusing to look into to find out our truth? So that's when I decided to do more research. I had to stop and think, what were the Aboriginal Americans and the Africans doing before they encountered colonization? I just began to question everything at that point, because we were stripped from everything that we did ourselves, to what so-called become civilized, so to speak. That's what they called it. We weren't civilized apparently enough, so we had to be stripped from everything we did on our own. I had to stop and think, what were they doing before they were told, this is your name, this is your God, do it or die, type of thing? Because that's how it was back then. Everything was done under threat and force. You had to do it or you would be killed. And a lot of times, a lot of people did lose their lives during that time, because a lot of people rebelled against being tortured and enslaved into something that they were unfamiliar with, that was not something of their own. Another thing that I had begun to notice about religions is how a lot of people who are Christians, they like to tear down people of other religions as if Christianity is the only religion in the world, like it's the only correct religion, so to speak. I began to notice that, and I didn't like that, because you cannot strip someone and brainwash them into thinking how you want them to think. That doesn't make sense to me. It never did. That's why I never really agreed with that. That bothered me. I've seen so many people hate other people so badly just because of the fact that they were not Christian. That was stupid to me. I really didn't agree with it. And another thing that made me stop wanting to follow religion was how there was so much discrimination. For example, I remember there was this one time I was at church one Sunday, and the preacher at the time, he went on a rant about homosexuality, and that bothered me. I didn't agree with it. I didn't think that that person had the right to go on a rant, a very hostile rant about it, and there were homosexuals in the there were literally homosexuals in the church that came there to hear the sermon, to hear the preaching, to uplift their spirits. Maybe they were going through something, they really need to hear something, but the preacher was too busy going on a rant about their sexuality, which I feel people as such don't have the right to judge. Who are you to judge? Who are you to discuss something like that in a church anyway? I don't think that's the place to discuss it. I don't think it should be discussed at all, because I don't think it's anybody's business, really, to be honest. I just think that when it comes to something like that, I think that people should let that person, deal with that with their divine power, with their God. Let them deal with that with their God, instead of trying to bring them down. Wait a minute, sorry, my camera's not focused. Okay. Instead of trying to bring them down in a place where they should be uplifted, I just don't think that that was the place for it. I don't think they had the place at all. Nobody has the place at all to tell someone who they have to right to do this or that, or who they want to share themselves with, because frankly, it's like I said, it's nobody's business but the person of their own. It's their own business. What they do shouldn't concern you, especially if they're not bothering you. So that bothered me. The preacher wasn't even talking to me, and that hurt my feelings. So to see the look on their faces as the preacher was saying it really got to me, and I was just like, okay, something's not right. This is not right. I also find people who are very religious to be toxic, like very toxic. Like people that I know who are very religious, the people that I know of that I knew when I went to school that were religious, were toxic. It's just they didn't practice what they preached, so it made them so toxic to the point where they were unbearable to be around. Like that energy was just off. I just couldn't deal, so I decided to leave it alone. So after realizing all of that, that's when I began my spiritual journey, and I found that it's very peaceful. You're one with nature. It's no rules and regulations, and no division between people. I think a lot of time people get tied up and so much into trying to perfect other people that they forget that they have work to do on themselves. So with spirituality, you never really have to worry about any toxic energy and all that type of stuff that just really brings people down. And you don't have to worry about all the being judged by people who aren't what they preach, so to speak. With spirituality, you're one with nature in connection to the universe within yourself. I find that to be so peaceful. I think it should be a way of life, because it's a peaceful way of life. So that's why I've stuck to it. And it's done a lot in terms of me connecting with myself and finding my truth. And just a lot of things come with it too. Like I said, I think I've always been a spiritual person. I can feel certain types of energies. I can pick up vibes. I can read people. Sometimes I can predict things. I can see things before they happen. I won't get into that. I don't like really talking about it, because you know how simple-minded people are. But yeah, I've been told that there's a lot that comes with being a spiritual person. A lot of supernatural things. And this is only the beginning, so there's a lot in store for me, I'm pretty sure, because I've already getting a spoonful of it enough now. So yeah, that's my a journey to spirituality, and I really like it. Comment below if you're a religious person or a spiritual person. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.